Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, I have to put out a sincere apology. Guys, my sincere apology is to Rudy Geldenhuys for omitting him from those who went live last night in our 100,000 celebration video. With everything that was happening, the gremlins crept in, and I overlooked inviting Rudy on Skype. My humblest apologies to Rudy for doing that. Rudy is without doubt the person putting in the time, his expertise and money to make Loving Life TV happen. Without his involvement, this mission that I spent years of my life on cannot proceed. Tonight I'm talking to Reuel about alternative investments that more and more people are turning to as rumblings about a global stock market crash continue to reverberate around the world. Let me get Reuel on, and please remember to ask your questions in the side chat. Okay guys, here we go. Hi Reuel.
Hi, Scott.
How are you, buddy?
Fine, thanks, and you?
Excellent, excellent. Now, we're going to be talking about, I guess you could call it alternative investments tonight, because there's clearly something very sinister happening behind the scenes. And we'll get to the stock market in a second, but there's like the widow spider in the middle of this whole thing, and that is the Bank for International Settlements in Basel. And that has a board of directors, including Christine Lagarde from the IMF. She's just a director there. Now, what's interesting is that the directors come from all over the world, but none of them are a Rothschild or a Rockefeller, even though that these guys, the guys who are pulling the strings behind the scenes. And I just did some research on this, and all of those directors have diplomatic immunity. That means they cannot be arrested. They can actually go and shoot someone in the street and no one can touch them because they have diplomatic immunity. That's the power of the banking system. They are above the law. Now, having said that, what's going on in the world right now?
Well, Scott, this is such an interesting topic, and just if we had to just see how much information there is, we've gone into information overload, starting with last year, where people could sit at home and they could surf the internet, and people are continuously bombarded with all sorts of information. And if the information is weird or too good to be true, it's being classified as fake news. And a lot of it, there are aspects of it that is fake news, but the news and information have multiplied drastically, and as a result, big censorship has come in as a result.
Yeah.
And that is the sad part, because we thought we were living in a free world, in a free country, but it's not so anymore. If you just open your mouth on a chat group about anything that you're standing up against or you're questioning, then you either get silenced or get removed. And so what is happening now is we're having two classes of people, two movements of people, and the two movements of people are going far apart from one another. And it's not anymore Christian, Jew, Muslim. It's now vax or anti-vax. It's those that are standing up for their rights, and those that just say, I'm going to go with the flow. So we have a whole lot of stuff happening, and a continuous amount of our freedom being taken away from us. Now, as a trader, from a trader's point of view, you can go and listen to Robert Kiyosaki and Jim Rickards, who actually work for the American government, and he's so outspoken against them because of manipulation. Because you've got people that only care for themselves and only care for their agendas, we have to realize that these people are not going to stop at anything, and they are yet to try and get as much as they can out of what's going on in the world, and kill as many people as possible.
Right. Okay. Now we've just got to be very careful what we say. Just this is right along what you're talking about, censorship. We just got to be very careful what we say about things like the vaccine, because fat-fingered YouTubers will come in and remove the video. So.
Yes.
Let's just be wary of that little thing. Now,
Yeah.
I want to get back to, I've got to be so careful what I say here. It's just crazy. I mean, if I say one wrong word, they can take down my video. Okay, look, I'm not going to. Okay, I'm not going to YouTube. Don't worry about it. Okay, now we're talking about something sinister happening behind the scenes, and we're talking about this mega organization called Bank for International Settlements, which is like the widow spider in the whole financial system. And clearly, the whole fiat system right now is under duress, isn't it? I mean, it's becoming worthless when you look at how many dollars are being printed. You look what's happening to economies around the world under the lockdowns and so on. It's a crazy situation, isn't it? And it's coming to a point where soon, it can't continue. The stock markets can't continue to do what they do. What are your predictions for the stock markets? Because I know that Kiyosaki is suggesting they're going to crash.
Yes, I'd like to talk a little bit about him and his predictions just now. But when we go and look at history, if a person has only one point of view in life, it's very hard to then accept someone else's point of view. And what I found was historians have a lot of knowledge. If you want to know the future, learn the past. And we've noticed that almost every year, every 100 years, there's been some terrible thing that's killed off people. And every 90 years, there's been a depression. So we are on par for the 90-year depression. Then we have the 7-year cycles that we spoke about last time, that the stock market crashes every 7 years. How big, it just depends on the 6 years before that. But the way the market is going now, we have possibly 1 to 2 months left before the stock market crashes. So when the stock market crashes, we don't immediately see a reaction to people financially, maybe those that are working at Wall Street and so on, but we don't see that happen immediately. It takes time because people can still live off what they've got for a period of time. So we are definitely on track. I'm preparing my traders, and I've got a group of friends that we keep each other up to date all the time on the signs of the times. But if we look at the stock market, let me just get my screen up, and then I can show you what's going on. So I'm actually going to mention somebody like Robert Kiyosaki while we're talking, because Robert Kiyosaki is an investor. He's not a trader. And the difference between a trader and an investor doesn't have to act immediately to every response, positive or negative, in the market. They can pretty much take their time. So when you hear a guy like Robert Kiyosaki speak, he's telling you what you must be doing in the next 6 months. But people generally think that it needs to happen right now. Let me just see if I can get this share screen. All right, so there's a Dow Jones average index, and here's my prediction. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is the way I'm seeing it actually taking a big crash.
Wow, is that the stock market?
Yes.
Wow.
So we can see that.
So you see it dropping down to about 15,000.
Yes.
From its high of 30. Wow.
It could come all the way down to 10 also.
Wow. Now, I've got a big black spot on the screen. Yeah, can you move that thing?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, but I've got that big black spot. There you go. Now it's gone. That's better. Okay. Okay, now we can see your screen fully.
So what we're doing is, I've got a log scale right now. When we go back to 1929, when the Great Depression happened, the stock market crashed. The stock market crash felt like 300 points. Now 300 points wouldn't even make it a little blip on the screen. We saw when the lockdown and the pandemic was announced last year in February, March, how that the price took a deep dive.
Right.
This one that's coming is so big that this one is going to look like a little blip on the radar.
Wow.
And what will crash together with it? Basically, everything crashes when a stock market crashes.
Yeah.
Because what people do is, if you see the gold and the silver price on the market, people aren't really buying gold and silver when they are investing on the stock market. They're just betting against the price. When they sell, they're selling their dollars back to dollars, or their betting price against dollars. So the ones that have gold and silver would be careful, because holding real gold and silver versus trading gold and silver is a totally different picture. Because trading gold and silver means you can withdraw your money at any time, whereas selling gold and silver is a time-use process. And it's paper gold and paper silver. And the reason why gold and silver aren't really the prices they should be, is because they are for all the gold that's in the market, they're allowed to issue 100 paper certificates for every ounce of gold legally.
Well, I think they do a lot more than that.
Yes. So if everyone had to withdraw their real gold and silver, if they really have this, then of course there's going to be a problem.
Now, if the stock market crashes, is that what people will do? They'll want their physical silver and physical gold?
So this is what people do. That they would start selling their normal stock market assets off first.
Yeah.
And thereafter, then they would be selling their gold and their silver. What we've seen in the stock market crash, I'm just going to go back and add the gold price onto this as a comparison.
Right.
And we can have a look at what happened during the stock market crash in 2015. So here in 2018, we can see there, January 2018, the price of the Dow Jones came down from January 2018 all the way to December 2018. So virtually a year of drops. But earlier, you can see that the gold price also dropped during that time. But then when you look at the gold price afterwards, the gold price actually rose for a longer period of time. And we saw that happen in the 2008 stock market crash also.
Can we do the same with silver?
Yes, I'm going to add the silver.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, go ahead.
So there's now October 2008 all the way from, see gold carried on going up into March 2008 right. After the stock market price started falling. Then it also dropped, and then October 2008, while the stock market was still dropping, gold started picking up. And you can see, I've got it on a percentage scale now. You can see the stock market versus the gold price,
right?
A big difference. So the gold price was growing, recovered a lot quicker than the stock market. And we can go on to all the previous years also, all the previous stock market crashes. Now, when we go and do another comparison with silver,
by the way, I've got a bunch of questions coming through, which is good. I'll put those to you a bit later. Please put your questions into the side chat, guys, and make sure that you have at Loving Life in there. Otherwise, I might miss them. Yeah, please carry on, Reuel.
All right. So we see that in comparison, it's better to buy silver than gold.
Yeah.
If you think that it's like selling laptops versus soap, you've got to sell a lot more soap, but the profit margins on soap is a lot better than selling laptops. And this is what we saw. There's a gold and silver ratio. So once you see the silver ratio becoming higher than 80-1 gold, in other words, 80 ounces of silver equals 1 ounce of gold. That's when we see the market go ballistic, because then the silver price goes like what it did in 2011.
Just on that point, Reuel, the traditional comparison is 30 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. That is the historic relationship. So silver's got a long way to go up in price to catch up to that original 30-1, hasn't it?
Yes. There have been times when it's actually gone down to 20-1.
Yeah.
Which was good times. Okay, I'll take the questions.
No, carry on. So have you finished with that chart?
Yes. Well, what we can assume from what's really happened over the last 7 or more stock market crashes. And we noticed this in the 1929 stock market crash also, that silver and gold took a dive together.
Right.
But when we look at the recovery, for instance, when silver fell in 2008 by 44% when the stock market crashed. But when it recovered by 440%.
Wow.
So that is a very strong consideration for someone that's going into the market. I mean, there will be a lot of stocks that will crash together with the stock market, and some that won't be affected much.
Right.
Some businesses will be affected drastically and others not so much.
So what's your prediction for gold and silver when this big stock market crash happens? Where do you see things happen? What do you see happening based on history?
All right. So what I'm going to do is I've actually just drawn out on a different. I'm going to just do this. Close this. Dow Jones and gold. So what I've done is I've drawn up a prediction for silver and this is also just a log scale, so I'm going to have to take this off the percentage. And oh, sorry, that's not silver, that's Dow Jones. It does what we call a typical cup formation, and this is coming back from 2011, where we're actually on our way to $50.
Yeah, I remember that time.
So that is the next stop for silver. There was absolute, I don't know, chaos with the gold and silver price after July, because last year we saw from March, when the stock market, gold and silver were at their lowest, from March to July, August, gold went up 50% and silver went up 280%.
Wow.
So whenever you're buying in, and I'm saying to people, because Robert Kiyosaki says buy gold and silver, what he's saying is because you never want to buy at the top before the crash. You want to buy after the crash. Or actually you want to buy some before the crash so that you've got some accessible in your hands.
Right.
Because you go to a guy that's selling silver, or you go to the Reserve Bank or the SA Mint, and you go and buy silver Kruger Rands, you're going to buy at a premium above the price. You're going to pay about 20%, 30% above the market price.
That's if they've got any.
That's if they got.
I think the really important point here to say, Reuel, is that we're looking at a supply problem when it comes to silver and gold, because, as you said, the ratio is something like 100 trades or 100 ounces on paper to 1 ounce of physical silver. And this is how the whole market has been manipulated. Now, the real value of silver and gold is much higher. So when the shit hits the fan, people are going to be scrambling to try and get their hands on something which is a safe asset, which is like gold and silver, and there won't be much around, will there?
Well, the problem is that silver is not economically viable to mine at the moment. So there's hardly any silver mines that are mining silver. It's too expensive to mine it because of the price of silver. So all the silver that's coming in across the world is silver that's coming from computer parts, old cell phones, old machinery that's got silver, and they melting it down into silver granules and then back into bars.
And silver is an industrial metal, which makes it different from gold.
Yes. And whenever we are fighting a more technological war now than anything else. Everyone wants to go into space and make electronics and stuff. So silver is possibly the most in demand commodity that there is.
Right. Now I've got a bunch of questions related to silver, so I'm going to give them to you. And okay, so we'll start off with Michael Lawson, who asks, please ask Reuel the role of the CBDE, the Central Bank Digital Exchange, when all cash will be banned by 2025. Reuel?
Yes, that's a very interesting question, because cash has been phased out anyway. Only about 2 or 3% of all money in circulation is cash at the moment, and cash is a problem in the world in some ways. But we will see a lot more change in function than what these guys think they are doing, because when we think of the way the banks and the systems are operating, we don't even know if they will still be around in a few years' time.
Now,
so
I just want to put 2 and 2 together here. About 80% of the population of the world don't have bank accounts, and we're talking about like majority of people in India don't have a bank account. The majority of people in Africa don't have a bank account. South America, a lot of people don't have bank accounts, because the big problem I understand from the New World Order is that these people, because they're so poor, they don't have identity documents. So without those identity documents, they can't actually open up a bank account. Now, the solution that they're going to be working on is a chip that will be inserted into every single human being. And that chip will include your banking details. So people who don't have ID documents and stuff like that, the New World Order's excuse, and this is ID 2020 it's called, the excuse is that they can just put a chip into someone who they don't know when that person was born, they don't know he doesn't have any ID, but he's got a chip. So because the chip's inside him, they don't need to have an ID book. And that's a whole reason that they're pushing out this mark of the beast, which is this digital currency, which every human being will have in their hand. I wanted to raise that because I think it's quite relevant to the discussion that we're having now when we talk about a cashless society in 2025. What are your thoughts about this chip that in Sweden they're actually chipping people now?
Yes, well, Sweden and parts of the European Union are doing it willingly. They're putting it on camera and saying, when they go, they just swipe their hand and doors open or their payments get done. And for them, it's about convenience. And they don't see anything wrong with the convenience. So unfortunately, there are two groups of people that are walking together, and they're not necessarily in agreement with each other. The one is these guys that are busy promoting whatever they're trying to promote, and then you got the digital currencies. I mean, digital currencies was introduced into the world before the bankers even knew about it. So when people say, oh, well, Bitcoin is from the devil or whatever, it was created in response to the financial crisis and crash in 2008.
Right.
So that people could send each other money. So if we go into countries like Zambia is probably the fastest growing economy in the world as far as cell phone technology is concerned. It's more and more, there are more people from rural areas buying smartphones. And smartphones already have the technology to use as a scanning device to do payments. So if I want to pay you, I can pay you straight. I don't need to know if there's money in my bank. I've got it on my phone, and I can pay people straight. It's almost.
Is that in the Zambian kwacha or is that in Bitcoin?
Well, we haven't gone there yet. We haven't gone to that extreme. There are people in Zambia and Botswana that are trying to promote the blockchain and payments via
So it's a
cheaper cryptocurrencies.
So it's a local currency that they're using on their phone.
Well, it hasn't come to yet, but the idea, the concept here is that smartphone technology is the way people will be doing transactions without stuff being inserted in their bloodstream.
Right. Now, okay, the next question I've got is from Wenwi, who says, please ask Reuel, does he foresee the premiums of silver being more in line soon? Does he foresee the gold to silver ratio going to 16:1 anytime soon, as per the historic average? I thought the historic average was 30:1, but yeah, over to you, Reuel. What do you say to that?
Yes, we'll see a massive correction soon, and why it hasn't changed, it is because there's been a lot of industrial silver being pushed back into the market, but soon in the near future, when people will be doing like Elon Musk, more solar power, and I mean solar panels use kilograms of silver, and your computer and your cell phone and almost your screen, your computer screen, your TV screen, all has silver in it. But so the price will definitely, I'm predicting that in the next 4 to 5 years, we should be seeing $150 mark for silver.
I would say much earlier, personally, but I think the important point here too, Reuel, is that with this new green, the climate change and all this sort of stuff, there's a move towards technology like solar panels to actually produce power. And every solar panel uses a little bit of silver, and it's just the volume of solar panels that are created that are going to create a huge demand for silver in the future as an industrial metal.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, now Marlena's asked, what will happen to people's fixed investments in banks?
Well, fixed investments in banks, nobody knows. All I know is when I'm looking at people like what was it in the 1920s, a guy by the name of William Gann, and he was a trader, and he actually had all his money in one bank account. Somewhere in the 1930s, after the stock market crashed, his bank shut down.
Right.
And he lost all his money. And just like in the late 1920s, where there was booming economies and everyone was running flat out, everything came to a standstill. And he made a suggestion about his life that maybe we need to also think about at this point of time, is that we've been running flat out, living flat out selfish lives up until now. And when we got to a lockdown experience, which actually was a good experience in the sense that we could spend time with our families and get to know our spouses better, and to learn to clean the house and do things that, I mean, why did you get married in the first place? Is to be together. And so what we've seen is just repeat of history that's coming. If we're looking at this only as a bad thing, then I'll say, all right, let's go back to, if you believe in what the Bible says about whatever happened, that the people were warned about things that were going to come across their lives. And that happened because they were not listening. They were disobedient. The the warnings that come to us, whether it's a nation that, I mean, the Romans ruled Israel because of them not mismanaging what they were supposed to, and that became a thorn in the flesh for those people. And we probably feeling the same way, Joe. We don't want to be ruled by someone else.
Yeah.
But this is all part of a cycle that we all have to humble ourselves and start rethinking, what our real relationship with God is. If we do believe in a God, we'll find out sooner than later.
Yeah, the Great Tribulation. Now, I just want to get back to someone who's got a bunch of cash invested in a bank, and let's say in particular in South Africa, where I think the rand is going to really take a dive like Zim. What's your advice to people who've got that? Should they be putting that into silver now just to secure their asset?
All right, so I would rather have a one-on-one session with people, because if I give somebody advice and everyone follows that advice might not be right for them.
Right.
And that could be totally out of whack. And our situation versus America's situation is, what happens in a stock market crash in Africa doesn't happen the same way in America. Americans, they still got dollars, and they don't have the economic crisis that we have. If we had to compare ourselves to Zimbabwe, because we're in Africa and things happen that way, then I'm saying we rather change our strategy to buy in a different currency that's going to grow, we don't want a depreciating currency. Right. That's the idea of trading two currencies against each other.
So what you're saying, what you're saying, Reuel, is there are options for people?
There are options.
Right. Okay. Well, look, I'll put your contact details for your training and trading, etc., down below this video, so people can contact you direct on the internet through that. Now, Rish has asked. Okay. Marlena says, when markets crash, will people do a run on the banks and purchase physical silver and gold? I guess I would say the answer to that is yes, because it's a real asset. But
yes,
anyway, what
and no.
Sorry?
Yes and no.
Okay,
so
tell us what the options are.
If we were back in 1929, it's like what happened in Greece. When there's a crisis or a crash, then everyone runs to the bank to go and withdraw cash.
Yes.
We don't have that problem anymore. We can withdraw our cash, but the question is, where are we going to withdraw it to, and what are we going to buy? The next question is, when do we buy gold and when do we buy silver? Because if gold, silver, and the rand crashes, you don't want to buy anything else that's crashing together with. So you want to maximize your, and for some of the guys, they're just going to sit and wait. My team, I remember a few months ago, I told you a week or two before the Bitcoin crash, I said, I've already told my guys to get out.
Yeah.
And they got out. And it did go up a little bit, but then it dropped. And now I'm telling my guys to get back in again.
Right.
Because it's hit the bottom. But soon I'm going to tell them to get out again. So
now, Rish has said, do you perhaps have a reliable list of companies where we can buy bullion, silver coins and bars? Now, obviously one is the South African Mint. I believe they sell those sort of things. But Reuel, what else? What other options have people got?
Yes, well, that is. We're working together with two different companies, but the one has been around for quite a few years. And basically, what you do is you're going to buy the physical bullion from them, and they will hold it for you as long as you want it. And you're going to buy it at virtually the market price,
Wow,
not the
that's good.
elevated prices you buy at the mint.
Right. Okay. What are the names of that? Or can you give the names of those businesses?
The names of the businesses are not important now.
Right.
The problem is that where people need to be educated on what to do and how to do it.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow these guys go buying the stuff and then they make a mistake. I mean, it's like a lot of people, they go trading on the markets and they just lose money because they buy when everyone else is buying.
Yeah. Now, there is another option that I used to use a lot. This is way back then. And that is there are coin dealers in the major centers like Johannesburg and Cape Town and Durban. And what you can do is you can call in there. Don't buy investment coins, but you can buy what they call scrap silver or scrap gold coins, where basically they're only worth numismatically the value of the precious metal in them. And what you have to do there before you go and see these guys is do your own research. You can find out how much a threepenny piece weighs, how much percentage of the silver is in there. I think with a threepenny pre-1950, it's about 1 gram per threepenny piece. But those little coins, if we get to the stage where fiat money completely collapses, they can be used to go to a shop and say, hey, look, I've got this old threepenny piece. It's got 1 gram of silver, and that might allow you to barter for, let's say, 200 rands worth of goods or something like that. That's an option that I've actually been involved in for years, and I've got quite a stockpile of threepenny pieces and sixpences and shillings, so I don't have to take a 1 ounce bar silver coin in the times when fiat currency has collapsed and say, hey, I've only got a 1 ounce silver coin. Can I just take over your shop? So yeah, it's just an option for people who are looking at buying silver. Reuel, what are your thoughts on using or buying the old silver coins and gold coins, sovereigns?
A lot of people, a few years ago, my wife's mom came with a whole box of coins, and it was old tikkies. Old tikkie is a 1 gram coin, and they had 80% silver in them. And the 1 rands pre-1977 had also 80% silver in. So I just paid her for the silver value in the coins at the time. And so there's a lot of the old coins, as you mentioned, that came naturally with silver in, and they're probably lying in a box in the back of a cupboard. You don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
But guess who's going to be scratching there after this call?
Well, I'll let you into a little secret. Remember the old South African crown, the 5 shilling?
Yes.
The silver one. I've got 1,000 of those.
Yeah.
And it took me years to acquire them, but they're just sitting there, and what a great investment each one of those is. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Now, okay, so Rish, I hope that answers your question. Michael Lawson says, please ask Reuel how the CBDE, that's what we're talking about just now, will affect the price of silver, and also without any currencies due to crashing, what will we use as means to buy it? So how will we buy silver?
Well, whoever thinks that they're controlling anything in the world is mistaken. What controls what's going on is the supply and demand. And nobody can have ultimate power anyway. Nobody can say we are regulating, because the people will eventually just do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So silver and gold is something that we need to acquire, or find a way to acquire, especially having some now and some after the prices have hit their low, because what people do is they liquidate their assets to survive. But then the rich people or the clever people start buying them back, in the dip again, if they can get.
Right. Okay. Now, Legendarella has asked, how do you buy silver from your 401k without the government alerted to try to steal it? That's the US, isn't it, the 401k?
Look, silver doesn't really have any moral obligation or it's like where gold and diamonds is so regulated by a few people in the world.
Reuel,
and they control.
Can we get your screen back so we can see you again? We've still got the chart on.
Okay. You want to see my share screen?
No. I want to see you.
Oh, okay.
Because the share screen's just sitting there.
You see me?
I'm sure we will in a second. Not yet.
That's interesting.
So you just got to stop sharing and it should go.
I did stop sharing. Let me just say share. Okay, stop sharing. Maybe that's going to work.
There you go.
That should
That's
work.
better. Now you're back. Okay, cool. Yeah, please carry on.
All right. What was the question again?
I thought you would ask me that. I'm getting old. I'm an old fart. Okay. Marlena says, how will they hold your bullion? Can they steal it? Well, I guess the simple answer is you keep it yourself. You don't let anyone else hold it, isn't it?
Yes and no. What I do believe that there are people in this world that we can trust. We can't trust everybody. I do not trust people that say they issue me a certificate and I know that they are allowed to sell the same certificate to 99 other people. That is, and often what's happened is in the stock market crash, those guys just liquidate. They don't.
Yeah.
You can't find them. So I would say
I guess the first golden rule is to
store your golden vaults.
The first golden rule is to own the physical metal, not to own a piece of paper.
Yes. So there are companies in the crypto space that are helping people acquire gold and silver, and
This
you
is
can
very
go.
interesting. Yeah, carry on.
You can acquire, go and pick it up at any time. And if you feel like you want them to keep it, and you know what the nice thing about it is that your silver and your gold you can sell on their platform at any time and withdraw the rands to your bank account.
And that's
So in
linked
other
to the
words-
silver price or the gold price.
And it's
The
linked
coin.
to the silver and gold price.
Wow. Okay.
And you can sell part of it. So if you got Kruger rands over there, you can sell part of the Kruger rand.
Mm.
So there are better options than the old ways of thinking. I know Marlena also told me once that she would rather, she doesn't trust people, she'd rather keep it. And there is logic to that. When stock market crashes, you might not have cash, but silver will definitely pay for your groceries.
Right. Okay. Now, Michelle Mullet said, please ask Reuel if offshore is better than local. I guess she's talking about holding your assets offshore.
Definitely not. Definitely not. There's so much trouble overseas at the moment in all the countries. And we've been reading so many stories that you don't really know who these guys are and who you can trust. And, there's a saying in Afrikaans, ver van jou goed, naby aan jou. It's very risky, especially if you're talking about digital assets.
Right. Now, there are a couple of questions here that have just come through. Anonymous has said, do we buy physical silver bullion after the crash or before it via a coin shop? Now, let me just again come back to the supply and demand situation. It took me literally 15 years to build up what's my retirement, which is a fairly sizable amount of silver. It took me 15 years. It's not something you can just go into a shop and, you know, say, I want 5,000 tickies, I want 10 sovereigns. They won't have them. They won't have them. You know, if you're going to start investing in physical silver, and we're talking scrap silver and scrap gold from a coin shop, you don't go in there and buy R1 million worth. They won't have it. You're flat out if they've got let's say 200 rands worth of scrap silver or gold. So you know it's something you got to do over a long period of time. Reuel, your comment on that?
Yes, I would rather find someone who can sell it to me more or less what the market price is right now, because if you go to a gold or a silversmith, these guys are going to charge you premium prices. You're going to see, oh, well, the price is let's say $25, and they're going to charge you 20% above that price, and you're going to feel upset if the stock market crashes next week, and then you're sitting with a very highly priced silver. So try and buy at the closest to the cost price as possible, and buy maybe some now already just to have it.
Yeah, well, I actually used eBay as well, and through eBay, or I think you've got bid or buy in South Africa. If you go and look for, there are people there that sell scrap silver, and it might be, let's say, 100 tickies or 100 threepenny pieces. What you can do is they'll give you whether it's pre-50 or post 50, because post 50 is just 50% silver, and 50 and before is 80% silver. So be aware of that. There's a huge decline in the amount of silver in old South African coins post 1950. So depending on the year of the coins, and normally when it's scrap silver they'll say we got 100 tickies which are all post 1950, or we have 100 tickies which are pre 1951. So depending on which basket it falls in, there's a huge difference in the amount of silver that is actually represented by those threepenny pieces. So best thing to do is to go to Google, see how much a threepenny piece weighs. You know the percentage because of the year. Go to have a look at the silver price, and then have a look at exactly what that little coin is worth, and then multiply it by 100, and that's the maximum bid you put in, because then you're actually buying the silver value. But that's again something I did years ago. Sorry, Reuel, back to you. Is there something you'd like to add to what I've just said?
No, that's pretty much the way it is. We have to, if we can find the old coins, that would be great. But then we need to know which ones have got silver value in them.
Yes. And the just so we're clear on this, the pre-1965 South African, then they used tickies, sixpences, shillings, florins, half crowns. They didn't use crowns post 1960, but they did use the other silver coins. But yeah, so South African early coins all have silver in them. But other currencies like German coins, they don't have any silver in them. So you've got to be very careful that you buy a coin that does have silver embedded in it. Sorry, back to you, Reuel.
Yes, there's a lot, as you mentioned. Bid or buy is one of the good platforms. We used to buy and sell our silver on bid or buy, and we like we sell silver granules, and you can sell it in smaller and bigger quantities, and it's all 99.99% silver anyway.
Yeah.
And people buy it as they can afford it. The only thing you need to look at is whenever you're buying off an online platform like that is look at the postage. If you're only buying 1 ounce and you're going to pay 200 Rand postage, then you're defeating the object of the exercise.
Yeah. Now, there's just something I'd like to just mention, Reuel, and that is back in the 1980s. It was it was late 1970s. I actually had a business with a couple of other guys in Escort, and we had this little machine, which was about the size of a bar fridge. And what it did was you put your photographic plates into this machine, and through some electrolysis process, it actually extracted all the silver. Now, if you've got the old printing, those big plastic plates that have all that sort of black stuff, which was where the print was. My technology with printing is shit, so I've forgotten what the correct words are, but they're these big sheets, plastic sheets. I think most people know what I'm talking about, where you can see how they printed the words from the black stuff, which has a huge percentage of silver in it. So if you've got a supply of these old printing plates, and you take those to a place to have the silver extracted, you might be very surprised and delighted in the outcome, because you can, if you've got enough of this stuff, you can actually extract a huge amount of silver. Reuel?
Yes, now I know about those old photographic things, but I actually didn't realize that they got so much silver in them.
They've got a huge amount of silver, and we actually extracted kilos, because one of our partners in the business had a printing business. So all the old plates would come into our little machine, and we'd extract the silver. It was a great way to actually get our hands on silver. Now Gandhi says, be warned, be careful of eBay. There's plenty of fake silver there. In fact, it's a no-go zone. Well, look, I never had if it's a thing that claims to be silver, and in fact I can actually go and get one. What are your thoughts about fake silver, Reuel, on platforms like eBay?
Well, I've been using a lot. I've not used eBay much at all, but what you normally do is you go and look at the ratings and the feedback of those people or the company, and you read the reviews of those people. And sometimes they just, they start up and they see how many people they can catch, and then they change the name and they start up something new. So you can see by people's ratings and the reviews that they got that they are pretty legit or not.
Right. Now, I'm going to show a couple of examples of fake silver that I was victim of, that I bought on eBay, just so people understand what we're talking about. So here's an example. Okay, they said that that's silver, and I paid quite a lot of money for that. And here's another one, and guess where they both came from? They both come from China, and they're not silver. So I was sold a dummy. So the safest way to buy silver is from, as Reuel was just pointing, reputable sellers on forums like eBay or Bid or Buy. And as he says, you can tell from their ratings how they're doing. But don't get caught in the trap of buying stuff from China, because 90% of the time it's bullshit. Reuel?
Genuine fake.
Genuine fake, yeah. I've had a few of those in my life.
Well, there's a lot of things that a person should be thinking of besides this gold and silver. I mean, there are assets that are worth. I mean, we look at some of those coins we were just talking about. If you take which penny was it, or the tikkie that was 1930 something, that was worth
1931 tikkie. There were only
100,000
128 of them.
rand.
And
So
62 were in proof sets, so there are only 66 which were actually circulated. That's crazy, isn't it?
so there's a lot of other assets out there. Some kinds of art are also in demand, but in a stock market crash, those won't sell as easily as.
No, because people won't have the money.
Yes. And a person needs to look at getting yourself seeds and planting vegetables and stuff like that, because looking after your very basic needs, if you don't have to go and buy food or look at somebody else's, go to shops to buy food, then you're already pretty well off.
Right. And of course, the old saying, you can't eat a bar of silver. So, prepping with food is very, very important. When people are hungry, they will sell just about anything to get their hands on food. So food is always a number one thing to acquire. Food that'll last for a long, long time. But as far as assets are concerned, for me personally, physical gold and physical silver are a very good way to go. But we haven't really touched on the cryptos at this stage, and you did mention about how cryptos can be used to actually get yourself into the silver market. Do you want to just expand on that, Reuel, how that all works?
All right, so this is what makes the world that we're living in so exciting, is because there are so many ways of creating wealth these days. So what I've done is I've helped the guys split their portfolios between very cheap cryptocurrencies and silver and maybe some gold. And the ones that I'm thinking that even if the stock market crashes, they will drop a small amount before they actually, before they'll go booming again. So Bitcoin is a very high risk kind of asset to buy because of its price. I mean, it's like telling people to buy a Model T when there's new, faster cars out there and cheaper cars. And that's exactly how we are viewing the crypto market too. So having a combination of where the prices are at the current situation, we keep on trading because now we're in a bullish trend. For the stock market, we still have probably about a month and a half, and then we're going to see big drops. But if we take the crypto market, it might have a drop, but it will carry on most likely until the end of December, based on its patterns. So people will still be able to make, then you want to get out. So what we do is we tell the guys, okay, guys, it's time to sell. And they sell, and then they just wait for their rands or the US dollars until the dips come. And whatever we find to buy, that's continued to go up, we carry on trading that.
Right. Okay. Now, this is totally from left field. So I just want to. There's a comment here in the side chat from Michelle Mullet. She says, "Can I buy directly from the beekeepers?" Now, Michelle, I think Moira, who we had on yesterday on the live stream, who has bees, I think you've been in touch with her. Let me know by email how that goes. And this is to do with beeswax. This is so far removed from silver and gold, it's not even funny. Okay, let's continue with a couple more questions we've received here, and then we'll get back to the other aspects of this discussion, because these are all related to silver and gold. Anonymous has asked, would you suggest purchasing altcoin trader, silver, or S-coin shop, physical silver, bullions? Thank you for your help. Okay. Reuel, what do you suggest?
Yes, Yes, the answer is definitely yes. Both. So what we do is we help people understand, we help them go through step by step
Yeah.
a process of buy where you're going to buy. If you're going to buy it at coin shop, understand what price you're paying, because if you buy a Kruger Rand silver coin or you buy a Silver Eagle American coin, there's a premium you pay for each one. Versus when you buy an old 1 Rand coin or something that you pay market price plus a smaller premium.
Right.
Or whether you're going to buy it online, we show you the options so that you make a proper decision. Don't just go and buy and then you find out you start blaming everyone because you feel you've been ripped off because you're paying such high prices.
Right. Okay. Now, where's this other? Here, when we says, does Reuel invest in any gold, silver, mining shares? A lot of stackers do well with these on the stock market to diversify their portfolio.
Well, as a crypto trader, we do not use the stock market yet. We are because the stock market, you've got brokers, and the brokers have the first say on your money when you want to withdraw it. So in the crypto trading world, we don't have brokers, and you can withdraw without my permission. I just teach you how to use the exchanges. And the crypto markets are currently housing stock market shares also. So there's around 30 or 40 stock market shares that you can actually buy on crypto exchanges right now without actually investing, putting your money in the stock market. So the answer is no.
Just talking about that, we've talked about what will happen to gold and silver if there's a stock market crash. Well, apparently there is going to be a stock market crash this year. What does a person do when a stock market crash occurs, and how will this affect the price of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Digibyte or any of these other ones?
So everything will fall temporarily. If we looked at the graphs of last year, and the stock market crash, February, March, we saw that it had a double, triple impact. But forget about what happens in the crash. Rather focus on where the bottom is that you can buy. Because, as I said, so gold went up 40, 50%, and silver went up 280% in 6 months. So that was much bigger than almost every market actually grew during that time. So whenever the markets drop, you don't want too much of your own currency for that you can't, because the banks can they own your cash. As while it's there, they own it. And they actually, we've seen this in Greece and Venezuela and a lot of these countries when there's a localized crash. So we mustn't think of the world crash, we think of a country crash. When there's a localized crash, then the banks can refuse you to withdraw a certain amounts of your money or limit you to certain amounts withdrawal per day. So you need to keep that in mind.
Reuel,
and where are you going to move your funds to when that happens?
Because Reuel, I'm just going to the little boys' room, so I'll let you talk for the next couple of minutes, okay?
Safe meetings. All right, so what we must at least know what our options are, folks. That's most important. You don't want to, and this is what happened a few weeks ago. When there was riots and looting in South Africa, people were frustrated. They were saying, we can't find food, we can't buy food. And that is just a little taster of what would happen in any country where there's trouble. It's, do you have tin food? I know a lot of people say, I don't want tin food. Do you have tin food? Do you have a backup plan for safety? And I did this on one of the calls the other night. I think I did it with you guys. If you had to know in 20 minutes you had to be out of your house, whether it's on foot, bicycle, or car, what would you take? And would you know where that is that you wanted to take? Those are the kind of things. Are you so stuck that you'll say, no, I'm staying here, doesn't matter what the problem is, and stay behind? A person needs to almost go and look at some of these doomsday kind of movies to see how bizarre it goes. Normal people throw their toys out the cot, do weird things. So you need to be prepared in more than one way, so that when it happens, you get a fright, but you're at least prepared.
Right. Okay, so what we're saying is that when the crash happens, everything is temporarily going to drop in price, and that makes sense because people have lost a huge amount of money, so they're not going to have that money to throw around. And remembering that it's just fiat money. Now, we've talked about at the very beginning, we talked about the Bank of International Settlements, and like being the big widow spider controlling the financial system. Now, when the stock market crashes, and if we have another crisis like we had in 2008, where the US government literally had to bail out the banks, what happens, or what would have happened if the US government did not bail out the banks in 2008? What would have that done to the global economy?
Well, the reality of that is still remains to happen, because you're coming and you putting your hard-earned cash in the bank. So that's not their money, it's your money. And then when they crash, the government bails them out, not you, which is, it's just wrong.
Well, so they use taxpayers' money to bail them out.
Yeah, but what if there's no more taxpayers, no more income? South Africa has lost so much revenue because of all the lockdowns. I mean, they've lost billions, and they're promising people to help them with 350 rand.
That's crazy. And I believe the price of food in South Africa right now is rising quite fast. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, we've seen a lot of things between 40 and 60% increase this year already.
Wow. And it's not going to get any better, is it?
Yeah, that's why, I mean, my wife and I, we are forever hunting for bargains.
Right.
One of the cheapest things to buy is eggs, and the eggs have gone up like 30, 40%.
Wow.
Because you can get a lot of meals out of a little. We need to stop just buying random luxuries that we're going to need to sell in the time of trouble.
Yeah. And you'll only get a fraction of the price.
Yes.
Now, the most important things when it comes to prepping is finding food that'll last a long, long time in the cupboard. So, I've got a lot of rice. I think rice is a very important commodity because you can always add spices and stuff like that to it, which spices will last forever as well. But what do you prep with, Reuel?
Well, definitely the first most important thing is there was a movie called, the series on Netflix called Rain, and there was a sudden disaster, and this father takes his family to a bunker, and you can see, if you watch, just imagine yourself in a situation where a whole lot of people have died of whatever, or people are dying because of food, lack of nutrition. You're not going to be worried about buying a fancy car or having the best cell phone anymore. you're going to be worried about survival techniques, and people actually get closer together in some communities, and some communities just fall apart. And that's what my warning to people is, what we've seen in South Africa is just a drop in the bucket if there's no food, or if there's people lose their jobs, because when the stock market crash happens, then people with businesses start laying off people. And who do they lay off? They lay off the poor people, and then later the middle class people.
Right.
And then when people don't have food, no one's worried about any luxuries anymore. They're just worried about survival. And folks, we mustn't think for one moment that this won't happen to us. This couldn't happen to us. So safety is an important thing. Have you got a safety plan for you and your family? If there's trouble coming, have you got a way to fight back? Have you got a backup plan to leave with your car? Have you got a place? You need to already talk to family. You need to have at least 4 or 5 people that you can phone and tell them already now, is on farms and rural areas, can I come and stay with you for a while?
Right. Yeah, look, I think that if what they're planning, this pandemic, that, and again, I've got to be very careful what I say here. I can say anything on lovinglivetv.com, but here on YouTube, we are watched like hawks. In fact, do you know, Reuel, that a couple of months ago, it got so bad that Google moderators were coming into our live chats and deleting perfectly sound comments of people. And it actually said, comment deleted by Google moderator. It actually said that. And I couldn't believe it. I was looking and saying, what? This is where it's got to. It's just crazy. Yeah. And anyway, let's get back to our discussion here. How are we going with time? We've been going about nearly 90 minutes. Okay, what does a person do trying to be level-headed in this situation that we're moving into now?
I think one of the things that everybody must look at is finding ways to cut your debt, finding ways to settle debt, or have some kind of backup plan in place. Now, a person doesn't want to be negative and worry about tomorrow and stuff. These things happened thousands of times in history, in different countries all over the world. The question is how do I prepare? First with food, tin food definitely, and then if you got rice packets and stuff like that, stuff that doesn't need refrigeration.
Honey is a good one.
Sorry?
Honey is a good one.
Honey lasts forever. Just don't microwave it. That's all.
You've done that with bad results, have you?
No. I was told by a beekeeper many years ago, because I don't believe in using a microwave at all. I don't microwave anything.
Well, honey is an incredibly good thing to eat, because it's an antibacterial. It's got amazing properties. Just pure honey. It's quite incredible. Sorry, back to you, Reuel.
Yeah, so the preparation is that you don't have to sit and worry about something, but that you at least prepared to a certain degree. And the question is, what if it doesn't happen? Well, if it doesn't happen, then it's okay. You were at least prepared. And that's the main thing is safety, food, and family. All of those are the closest thing to you. And then, of course, checking your debts, making sure you've got gold and silver, whatever, the assets, and some crypto, because some crypto is doing very well. We've had some very good days in the market recently.
Now, just on the crypto side, you do trading courses, and I'll put a link to those trading courses down below this video if people want to, talk to you about that. But look, getting back to the situation today, I think the most important. This is this is from my own strategy. The most important thing to do is to make sure that you have control of your money. Don't let a bank have this is not financial advice. This is my strategy. I don't let a bank have my money because I don't trust banks. As Reuel said, they can go bankrupt any day and you're gone. You've lost all your money. If you've got your assets in real money, which is like silver, physical gold, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, which again are not controlled by the banks, these are things that you can trade with, you can barter in really bad times. But look, clearly the World Economic Forum have made it very clear that there's going to be a great reset. They're going to bring a whole new financial system, and you will own nothing, and you will be happy by 2030. So between now and 2030, remember the New World Order is the Bank of International Settlements. Clearly, there's a strategy to bring the whole financial system down sometime between now, or well, it'll have to be years before 2030 because they've got to set up the new system. So we're living in like a little tunnel at the moment before the shit hits the fan. Don't you think, Reuel?
Yes. We got two parallel universes in the financial system right now. And of course, the financial system as we know it wants to tap in on the crypto system because the crypto system is way ahead of the others. I mean, you can go and put your money in certain cryptos right now and earn between 10 and 30% per year, per annum on those cryptos as a banking account. And this is the next generation. It's the next generation banking. So the world is changing. If we think we want to go back to the old normal is outdated. It was selfish. It was all for self gain. We've been forced. I mean, how many people can you have a meeting with on YouTube versus inviting people to your home every day? So our world has become smaller, and fortunately our technology has grown to such a degree that we can pass messages through lots of systems so that we can get messages across. I mean, if imagine the financial crisis in America in 1929. You didn't know about it until the next morning when the newspapers came out.
Yeah. Yeah, the world has changed quite dramatically. And I just want to make a statement, and that is that these so-called philanthropists like George Soros and Bill Gates, they always, the mainstream media always call them philanthropists. If they were philanthropists and not just power-crazy psychopaths, they would be pumping billions into places like KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng to help feed starving people. They don't put 1 cent into that. They have their own little niche market, which with Gates is health, and he controls all the health stuff. I've got to be careful. I'm sorry, YouTube. I've got to be careful. Okay, I retract that statement. I retract that statement. But no, with Soros, his control over the ANC government is obvious, by the way he uses his money. But that money is not used to help people who are starving. That's why I hate it when they call them philanthropists, because they're not.
Well, what I've seen happen is when somebody gets a lot of power through money that they've earned, then whoever they are deep down inside, the dark side, often manifests itself.
Yes.
So that is why the Bible talks about three men that had, and I use this for traders. Three men got talents, and the one went and buried it, and the two went and made it more. Whatever talents you have, whatever gifts you have, you are there in the world to multiply those gifts and to help others and help your family eat and be there for others, so that you don't you got a purpose in the world, you got a mission in the world.
Right. Now, Reuel, I think we've pretty well covered the subject. Are there any other questions people would like to ask of Reuel? I think I've got one more here from Wenwi, and he says, what will be the best performer in the next 5 years between gold and silver, according to Reuel? Does Reuel invest any gold and silver? Okay, we covered that, but what do you think is going to be the better investment, gold or silver?
All right, so that's a very easy one to answer. Gold is a slow growing asset. It's controlled and manipulated. Silver is a free for all asset, and it's very cheap. So when it comes to buying gold, not everyone can afford to buy Krugerrands, but everyone can afford to buy a silver coins. As I mentioned, from March to July last year, we saw this in the 2008. We saw this in 2015. We've seen it every time the gold and the silver price start picking up after the stock market crashes. Silver goes up double the price, 2.5 times the price that gold would have gone up. So let's put it this way. If you had 1 ounce of gold, or could use that money, so let's say 30,000 Rand in March last year, and you wanted to buy either 1 ounce of gold or buy 80 or 90 silver coins for the same amount of money, you could have chosen one of the two. So after July, you would have been able to sell the 1 ounce for 50% more. So you would have got 45,000 Rand back in your pocket. If you had taken the 30,000 and bought silver with it, you would have been able to buy almost 2 ounces of gold with that money. In other words, your value, if you add 260% to 30,000, you'll see you're way over the value in rands or in dollars. So that's why what we teach in crypto also, we say, for instance, Bitcoin is a slow growing asset, even though everyone says it's so volatile. Sometimes it's volatile, but there's a lot of cheaper assets that grow a lot faster than Bitcoin. So the cheaper the asset, the faster the growth.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, I've got a comment here, which I don't know if it's real or fake news, but I'll just repeat it because it's one of the things that I've been having a concern about. And Mikado says, important newsflash for Loving Life. South African YouTuber Udes has been targeted by the South African Police Service and the Hawks. And I'm not sure what he means by targeted, but I can understand that YouTubers who are starting to take on the government will be targeted because that's where the world is going. And I can see a couple of other YouTubers who might be targeted as well. So having YouTube channels overseas where they can't get their slimy little claws on you is obviously the way to go. Yeah. Any thoughts about how governments are starting to impose themselves on the freedoms of speech, Reuel?
Well, what I've noticed, generally speaking, as soon as there have been lots of clampdowns on people because people can't stand up and have freedom of speech, you have almost like, I wouldn't say it's an underground movement, but you've got a very strong movement in an opposition that gets formed, and a lot more people are saying we're going to stand together. We want freedom of speech, and they're going out on the streets and protesting at the moment all over the country. We've seen Sea Point also the weekend, people going out and standing up. So this is just history repeating itself.
Right.
If we take the Middle Ages, the priest and the state had all the say. Nobody could stand up against the church or the state. And what the church and the state told you, you just said, Amen. You didn't even have a Bible. You didn't have any access to whether it was the truth or not. Now, there's so much truth, we don't even know how truthful it is, because there's a lot of opinion involved in it. So we have to go and make our own decisions based on our reality.
Right.
But we don't want to make decisions when it's too late. We want to at least be restful and calm in our mind by saying, this is what I'll do, or this, or this. I need a plan A and a plan B, at least for when the pauper hits the fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, you're crazy not to prep. I mean, that's what we're both saying. Because if you don't prep, if you live from day to day when it comes to your groceries, and you have a KwaZulu-Natal situation where things go absolutely pear-shaped, what are you going to eat?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Having food. Now, last time I mentioned something about the Shemitah year, the 7-year cycle, which is a biblical thing. And so when we expect the cycle to happen, on the 6th year it rains. And I've got friends in the Karoo and all over, and they're just so happy because the plants and the crops are growing again, and they will have enough food for when they're not supposed to be planting. And there's enough fruit trees in the area for them to pick fruit for a while. So there is provision being made already. We just need to see it and access it.
Right. Now, I just want to pick up on another comment said here. Michelle says, send my love to Thea. And this is for Manuel Magro. Now, Thea is Manuel Magro's wife, and apparently she's been very, very sick. I'm not sure if it's COVID-19, but I just want him to know that the Loving Life family are praying for you and your family, and obviously your wife, Thea. Okay. Yeah, I'll just close up this side chat feedback from Robert Williams. Wow, that's an interesting name. He says, gold is storage, silver is trading, food is necessary, water is life, and energy is movement. Plan for survival and choose all of the above rationally. I think that's pretty good, pretty well said. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's pretty much what it is. I saw something in the chat box about property, and Robert Kiyosaki actually says it very nicely. They wait until all the markets have dropped. They wait, even the house prices will drop drastically, and then these guys will start buying, property. But the fortunate thing of the world of blockchain, because I don't want to mention Bitcoin. People have negative connotations to Bitcoin because they think it's a rebel thing and all that. But there are systems in place already that even the poor people can buy property. In other words, if I go and buy a property coin, and I own a piece of property with it, the more I buy, the more I have. I mean, there's a company in South Africa that's been many years that are installing solar all over the country. And I put money into the solar project, and it pays me 3 or 5% per year on my investment. So there are some very, very good projects and things you can put your money into.
Right. Now, we've got another question from Fiona Timms. She says, what about expropriation without compensation when it comes to planting food, good crops? And that includes investment. Why would a farmer invest in new buildings and vehicles if he thinks his farm's going to be expropriated, because then he has to pay the debt after he's lost his farm. Your thoughts there, Reuel?
Well, there's a, and obviously we've run out of time. It's that could be a subject all on its own, because
Yeah.
there's a biblical story that's
Go ahead.
this can get, yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us, Reuel.
So I'm gonna summarize it and very, very shortly. And I kind of touched on it a little bit last time, that the farmers, the Israeli farmers, were told that they would have to rest the land on the seventh year. Now, if you don't rest the land on the seventh year, then you can carry on planting, but now you've got to use artificial fertilizers and poisons and stuff. So now everyone's eating poisoned food.
Yeah.
So if you rest the land on the seventh year, you don't have to poison the land to plant more food. And that to me is, when they done this 7 times 7, they did it 49 years in a row. So they got punished to go to Babylon to leave the land for 490 years. They got punished 490 years. Now, that I had a family member doing missionary work in Rhodesia, and he said in Rhodesia, no one had time for God, no one had time for they just wanted to make money, and nobody rested the land. And yeah, so the land gets rested. The land needs to be rested. So if I'm saying, guys, look at what the Bible, if you believe that the Bible is right, and you follow, and you know that God's going to look after you, then follow what he tells you, because resting the land is like resting your body. If you don't rest your body and you're working day and night, you're going to get sick. You're going to get disease. So the land also gets sick. The land, if I see how much of the food we're eating now isn't genetically modified. So that's my point. And now we're letting Monsanto tell us what to eat. And they're limiting the seeds. So, but what I'm saying is that not to worry so much about the farmers when you're talking about planting food. Everyone has got gardens. A lot of people have got gardens. And what you got, nice little flowers and pot plants. We went in before lockdown last year, we started planting lettuce and spinach and stuff. It's such a pleasure eating food out of your own garden.
Yeah.
I'm just summarizing this.
Yeah, I've tried that, and it didn't go too well. I haven't got green fingers, unfortunately. Okay, well, look, Reuel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope everybody who's listened has got a better idea about investing in gold and silver. And we just touched on the old cryptocurrencies, but Reuel is your man if you want to learn more about trading in cryptos and when it comes to silver and gold. Please remember there's a thing called Google. Do some research, and all we do is we bring up the options for our family so that they can look at preparing for what could happen. And we're not saying it will happen, but it's pretty likely it's gonna happen. So just be invested in things that can help you when the proverbial hits the fan. Reuel, is there something you'd like to say in just summing up tonight's live stream?
No, I think we've covered everything. If anyone wants to, make contact, I think you've got a link that you send the people, and
I'll put the link in the description below.
Yes, and make contact with us, and we respond to everybody. Not everyone always responds when we respond. I don't know what happens there, but yes.
Alrighty, fantastic. Thanks, Reuel,
Great.
so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're very
welcome. Good night to everyone.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you to the moderators. You always do fantastic jobs, and please have a good and safe evening. And don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we'll have another live stream. And for the life of me, I'm not even sure what I'm talking about tomorrow night at this stage. It's been such a busy 24 hours, believe me. Let me just have a look. Where's my schedule? I haven't got my schedule up, but we've definitely got a live stream. We've got live streams all the way through to early August planned. Take care, guys. I'll leave the side chat open for a few minutes, and we'll see you tomorrow night.